Welcome to the Game of Life podcast, where we bring you inspiring softball stories, insightful tips from coaches and players, and explore how the game transcends its boundaries to become a metaphor for life. Whether you're a sports enthusiast, a casual fan, or someone just looking for inspiration, you're in for a treat. We'll unravel the tales that go beyond the scoreboard. Discover how perseverance and hard work on the field translates into resilience in your daily challenges. Learn about teamwork, leadership, and the unwavering spirit that fuels success, not just in sports, but in the game of life. Alli, it was March when we decided to do this, and now we're into December.
I know.
This is our 35th episode. So
Crazy.
we've pretty religiously gone week by week. It's not always easy. I mean, I'm burning the midnight oil now, and you're back in Chicago, and it's barely dark out because you're so far behind us.
I know, and you got the fun Christmas background going on, and I got a white wall behind me. So
Yeah, well, that's another funny thing. I mean, the game of life, when we started this podcast, where I'm sitting right now was not even in my thought process.
yeah,
Think about that. You
and
know,
I was in a
since
different apartment.
yeah, and now I'm sitting in the tap house I own. And but that's
That's
that's the
life.
whole fun of it. It's the process. Like if I we could do something where I ask like what your favorite moment is or what you miss most about the game. And I'm putting words in your mouth right now, so correct me if I'm wrong. But it usually has nothing to do with like statistics and any type of glory. It's just all the little things in the process that you miss. Even
Yeah,
building, like I keep taking on adventures where I get to challenge myself and trust the process.
yes,
And everybody has this vision of where they're going to be in life, whether it's sports or academics or careers. But at the end of the day, if you really love to compete and you really love the process, you just like stacking those days.
yeah, 100%. And I think it's been so fun to watch you guys too take on that whole new endeavor because just think about all the connections you've been able to make since you did that. And I'm going to circle back to that podcast with this. Like people come into the tap house that you haven't seen in months. And you just get to chat with them and chat with them. And that's exactly how I feel about this podcast. There's a lot of guests we've had on this season that I haven't reconnected with in a really long time. And that was really special for me to be able to, reminisce with them, learn from them, see where they're at in their life now, them see where I'm at in my life now, and kind of just look back into, either the moments we had together or learn from them if it was someone new that I met that you brought on. I think that's just something in life too that's really special. There is never a maximum on the number of people that you're allowed to meet and the number of people that you're allowed to network with and learn from and connect with.
Yeah, like every single day you have a chance to reconnect with somebody from your past. You have a chance to build memories with people you're with. And then you have a chance to meet people that you don't even know exist yet.
Yeah,
Like if that doesn't get you out of bed in the morning,
I
I
know.
don't know what could.
I know. But yeah, so our goal for today's episode is to kind of recap on the first season. So we're going to call this episode the end of our season one of the Game of Life. So just recap on, everything that we've been through since March, all the people we've gotten to talk to, and just kind of take a look back at how this podcast has gone so far. So I guess I'll turn to you for maybe some opening thoughts you have on that.
Well, it's like I said earlier, I just love meeting people, having conversations with people. And when you first came to me with this, I have my other podcast with my friend and business partner. But I'm like, wait a minute. Allie Richmond wants to talk to me and record it every week. I'm all in.
Also known as your daughter, but yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, no, the Allie Richmond.
Yeah.
Uh, but what I've learned about both podcasts I do, wherever they end up, it's just being in the trenches and having this type of conversation. How many times in a day do you sit down with somebody and actually just communicate and talk? And I know we're doing it through the computer,
Right.
but it's still it's pretty intense. You have to know where your feet are. to use one of your sayings.
Yeah.
You have to concentrate and you have to have a genuine interest in who you're talking to. And
Yeah.
you can't fake that stuff.
No, and I think one thing that's been special to me is no matter what kind of day I've had, every time I log off this podcast, I'm fired up. And it's usually like 11 p.m. and I don't even want to go to bed because my head is spinning. I'm inspired. I feel awesome about the connection I just made with somebody, what we just put out into the world. And that's something that's been super special for me because sometimes I want to be full up front. It's like 10 p.m. when we log on and we're like, hey, how's your day? And we just turn it on and 10 minutes in, I don't even remember what I was doing before I logged on. And that's just full transparency because it's been so much fun just talking about all things softball and all things life. And I couldn't be happier. And I think, one thing a lot of podcasts focus on is, oh, the listeners we have. And, I want to get to this point and this goal. But the thing that's been cool to me is, when I'm out and about and someone comes up to me or texts me and says, hey, I listened to the episode you did this week and this really resonated with me. That is special to me because our goal is to help individual people, right? If we say something that resonates with 5 people and it's going to make their day better and make their life better, then that's a win in our book. So that's really special too. And we really appreciate all the support that we've gotten through this so far.
There was one particular episode that came to mind where we logged on and we both looked like zombies.
Oh
It's
my
like
gosh.
12-hour days. We're like, hey, should we do this? And we're like, we have to do this. And then by the
No,
end
we
of the
get to
episode,
do this.
yeah, we
That's what
get
we
to.
said to
Yeah,
each
no, no,
other.
no.
We're like,
Yeah,
we
we
get
did. We did.
to.
But by the end of the episode, then I log off and I don't go to bed for 2 more hours. It's like
Mhm.
you talk about endorphin rush or like the chemicals in your body that can just create happiness. And that's what these conversations are all about. And you know,
Yeah.
we don't there's no comparing us to anything else. Like we don't even know what to compare ourselves to. We started from zero.
Yeah.
And we just like talking and sharing ideas and getting better and helping people. And
Yeah.
that's happened from some off podcast combos we've had, but it's just so much fun. Like you only get one chance at life, and
Yeah.
I don't care if no one's ever watched an episode we've done. We've had so much fun, and people
Yeah.
can tell whether you're a teacher, a coach, or a
Mhm.
leader in a business. People can tell if you're authentic and if you're really happy. And
Yeah.
if you're faking what you're doing, people catch on at some point.
100%. And I think the other thing, people don't see is when we have a guest on, we're usually talking to them for 20 minutes before, 15 minutes after, and we're like, shoot, we better hit record because we just get talking. And it's been so cool too to reach out to people that we've never met before and say, hey, would you be interested in coming on? And by the end, they're like, thank you so much for letting me share my story. And to us, we're like, thank you for, sharing your story on this platform. So I guess what I've learned from that is never be afraid to reach out to someone that you look up to or you think has a good story. Because I think about it this way, if I'm passionate about something, let's say softball, everyone knows I'm passionate about softball, and a young girl asks me to talk to them about it, I would never say no. So if you find someone who's passionate and you want to learn from them and you want to talk to them, go for it. Because for the most part, they're probably going to be really excited that you asked and really excited that someone else is passionate about it too.
What's the worst thing that would happen?
They say no, and you're in the same spot you're in right now. So,
Like I think we really forget how lucky we are to be doing what we're doing. I mean, any human being, technically.
yeah,
And we worry way too much about what other people think when in reality, they're not even really thinking about us.
yeah, yeah.
So, do,
I,
you- do, you- do you, oh, go ahead.
nope, you go.
Do you have any favorite episodes or any moments that came to mind? I mean, to me, I'm going to sound generic. I just like zooming and talking to people.
No, me too. I like when we have the guests on, I think, but at the same time, and we want to make this as genuine as possible. We don't prep too much for the episodes that we do, and I'm being fully transparent. Like that same day, we'll say, "Hey, what do you want to talk about tonight? And then we'll get the juices flowing and the ball rolling. But hopefully that comes through as authentic because it truly is. We just want to talk. Like I don't necessarily want people to think about this as a podcast. I want them to think about it as a conversation that you can see yourself inserted in. So I think that's been really cool too. We'll hop on and just start talking, and next thing you know, 45 minutes go by, and we've had that feedback from some of our guests too. They text me the day before and like, what do you want me to talk about for 45 minutes? I'm like, don't worry about it. My dad and I are yappers. We're gonna get through it quick. And at the end of the podcast, they're like, holy crap, that was an hour long. And it's just so fun to talk about stuff you're passionate about. And I don't know that I'm rambling on now. But I
Uh,
guess I don't really have a favorite either. It's just a combination of all of them.
it's fantastic. If I could give you a nickel every time somebody said between mine and Matt's podcast, how do you find time in your day to prep for all this? I'm like, well, we don't.
Yeah.
And we keep the camera on, we just roll. There's no editing. And
Hmm.
I think people relate to that more than trying to, set something up and have an intro. Excuse me.
See,
Like
we can
there.
edit that
I should have
out.
just edited that and I didn't. Have an intro and do this. Like if you're at a coffee shop with somebody and talking, you're not like, oh, can I take that statement back? I didn't mean to say that. Like there's not enough of that in society. And so be it. If it doesn't progress, oh well. I mean, in my heart of hearts, I know it will because there's also no timeline for what we're doing. Like
Yeah.
everybody's like, have you grown much? Well, yeah, we grew from zero.
Yeah.
So technically the growth's been so exponential from
Yeah.
zero, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
we don't have, there's no end game except to keep doing this. And
Yeah.
it's gonna, we've reached out to some guests. We've had some great guests on.
Got
I've
some
had
lined
some,
up too. Got some exciting ones
we
lined
got
up.
some
Yeah.
awesome ones lined up, and we've got some ones that it's funny, they talk a good game on social media sometimes, but then they don't even respond back, and that's fine. Just tell me no, because I
Yeah.
realize in the big scheme of things, it's all perspective, and you know, we're not doing anything earth shaking, but we just have convos that we think when people are on their walks or in their car or coming home from a game or a bad day, they can listen to us and have some perspective.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And I think honestly, we talk all the time about loving the journey and not worrying about the end destination. And I think that's really what we're doing. If people ask me every week, oh, like how many listeners do you have in your podcast? What are you going to do with your podcast? And I genuinely tell them, I don't really know, but my dad and I love doing it and it's super fun. And that's all we wanted it to be, is we wanted it to be fun. And hopefully that like comes through the phone at you guys and you're having fun too and you're listening, because that's our goal right now. And speaking of guests, if you listeners feel like you could have a good conversation on this podcast, reach out to us. If you know someone you feel like you'd like to hear from beyond this podcast, reach out to us. We're always looking for guests. We want to have conversations with not just athletes, any athletes, but honestly, anyone who has a good story of the game of their life. Like that's who we want to talk to. So if you guys, know anyone that we can reach out to, definitely reach out and let us know, because at the end of the day, we want to have good conversations that you all want to be a part of too.
Yes. And we called it the game of life because, I mean, you and I are sports fanatics, right? We talk sports all the time.
Yeah.
Uh, if done, if you have the proper perspective, sports are the best platform. I mean, I'm
Mhm.
a little biased because we're part of it to yield success for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
If you follow certain principles,
Yeah.
accountability, working hard with no guarantees, and just loving the process. And that's why we do this. So it doesn't have to be somebody nationally known. It doesn't have to be, somebody that has some resume. It's just, what
No.
are your thoughts? We want to have conversations with people.
Yeah. You all don't know by now. We like to talk. So anyone who will come on and talk with us, we're excited to have.
It's
Definitely.
a fight sometime between the two of us, right?
Always. Yeah.
Uh, so when we started this in March, do you, and I'm do you think we'd be at this point, or didn't you know? Did you think we'd do it weekly? What were your expectations?
I really didn't know. I didn't know how it was going to be received. I didn't know, what support we'd get, what feedback we'd get. But I remember the one thing that you and I said is we're gonna keep going, no matter what, because we enjoy it. And I think when you start a project, that has to be the source of it is no matter what the outcome is, I'm doing this because I enjoy it. And then people will see, the joy you have and the passion you have, and that'll come through. And hopefully that'll attract a lot of people to what you're doing. But to answer your question, I'm happier than I thought I would be with where we're at. I think just seeing the texts I've gotten and the conversations and the comments of, you guys are doing a great job, or people who don't reach out and then I see them and they're like, I listen every week. And you just don't know who you're reaching. And to me, I think that's really special. And I think that's something we have to keep in mind all the time. Even if you don't do a podcast or don't speak to a lot of people every day, you have a lot of influence in the people that you talk to. And I know I've talked about this before, but one of my favorite quotes is if you, at the end of your life, put everyone you've ever interacted with, you would probably fill a stadium. And to me, that's crazy because the impact or the legacy you leave is in the individual interactions you have with people. And I think how like doing this podcast has really made me think about that a little bit more of what impact I want to have and what I want to kind of help people get through or help people grow through.
Yeah, I think you just summed it up. Don't do it for the likes, right?
Yeah, yeah,
The likes are the likes. You do it because you have passion and meaning and purpose in your life.
yeah.
And I think this has helped me because I've taken on some roles lately where not everybody's happy about what you're doing.
Mhm.
And at the end of the day, I don't mind being that person in someone's life, but they just need to let everybody know when it happened. Like
Yeah,
I'm I'm Paul Richmond. I haven't changed in years.
yeah.
And you and you can vouch for that because I'm the same annoying person when you were two as when you're 24. But
Yeah,
when people have when people are looking at some end result and worried about crunching it into a timeline, things change and their perspective changes. We don't change. We're just out here spitting bars, I guess, for
yeah,
lack of
honest.
anything
And
else.
but I think and when you take on a project like this, whether you call it a passion project, a side quest, whatever you're gonna do, you have to not just think about, what other people are going to perceive it as or what other people are going to think, but what are you going to get from this, from doing this? Is it going to add value to your life? Is it going to drain your energy? And to me, I love this. Like it has made me so much better, whether it's communicating with new people. I feel like I ask better questions at work now. I ask better questions in general just because I'm coming up with them all the time on this podcast. I'm learning from people on the insights they have and 10 other reasons. And I feel like this has helped me grow too, regardless of how many listeners we have or how many likes we're getting and things like that. So I think when you start a passion project, for lack of better terms, make sure that it's gonna add value to you. If 5 weeks from now or 5 months from now you didn't reach the goal you wanted, are you still better off because of what you were doing?
Yeah, there's some authenticity to it, right?
Mhm.
Like we're being vulnerable. We don't care. Like we
Yeah,
really don't care. We're just spitting this out here for the world. And
yeah,
it's exciting. And I think more people want to do that than don't.
hmm,
I think they just get in their head too much.
yeah. It's a hard thing.
It's a very hard thing, but what a end to the year. We'll come back the first week of January.
Mhm.
We'll have a guest. We won't just we just ended with a recap. We don't need to end with, well, here's what the start of the year is going to be.
Yeah, yeah.
But I'm super
But
excited.
yeah,
I know you're doing great things and making a difference out in the Midwest. And
thank you.
I mean, not to get all teary-eyed and stuff, but I really look up to you. I know dads aren't supposed to say that with daughters, but
Yeah.
you're doing great things.
I appreciate that. I've had a good role model my whole life, and you and mom. So I appreciate that. And I think I want to just end too by saying thank you to everyone who's been listening to us. It's been so cool, um, just to see the passion that so many people have for this topic in general, and the want to grow from so many people that are genuinely intrigued in what we're talking about, and saying, hey, like that guest you had on was so cool. I'd love to chat with them sometime. So it's just all that stuff. And I truly, truly feel like we've built a really good community that's has open arms if anybody else wants to join too. But we really appreciate all your support.
And it's only the beginning, right?
Yes, definitely.
All right. Thanks, Allie. Talk soon.